Hi, my name is Tammy Schamuhn. I'm the co-founder of the Institute of Child Psychology. I'm a registered psychologist, a registered play therapist, and a mom of three beautiful kids. And I'm here today to talk about time-ins, and hopefully this video gives you a little bit of insight as to what that is as an alternative to a timeout. So most of the time, I think since we've eliminated the idea that yelling is a good idea or spanking or hitting our kids is a good idea, a lot of parents move to something called timeouts, which means they generally isolate their children, usually in their room or on a chair or a stool or the stairs, and to give them a bit of a break. And sometimes it's done under the pretense that they want them to think about what they did, or it's just done simply because a parent just can't maybe cope in that moment. And we are here to suggest using something a little bit different than isolation to really get in tune with our kids and not to cause any harm or any anxiety in our children's in terms of their psychological well-being. So I think it's just understanding how timeouts can maybe work against us in terms of our role as parents, and that looking at what a time in does that circumvents that. So timeouts, while some children may calm down, it more often, I think, lends to children shutting down and numbing out because of the pain of being separated from their caregivers. When children are having big emotions, they need connection and attunement, not disconnection. And often kids are put in timeouts because they're dysregulated, and we're hoping that by separating them from us, they'll calm down. But really, what that's saying to that child is, "Mom and Dad can't handle you, and you have to hide your feelings from me in order to be part of our family." And with children's brains being so underdeveloped, especially young children, which timeouts are often used with, when children become dysregulated, when they are not connected to the thinking part of their brain, their emotions and their bodies have taken over. In adults, the part of the brain that calms the body and the emotions down is the cortical brain. And this is very, very, very poorly developed in young children. And so that ability to self-regulate doesn't exist typically until kids are 5 or older. And even then, it's very, very poor. We know that part of the brain that's in charge of self-regulation actually isn't done growing till we're close to 32 years of age. So to expect a child as young as 2 or 3 to self-regulate when that part of the brain just isn't really filled in yet isn't reasonable and not possible for them. But what they can learn to do is to shut off from their emotional experience, to dissociate from their body, to dissociate from their emotions and numb out, because they know if they cry, no one's coming. And I don't think any parent wants that for their child. So what parents must be is their child's cortical brain. They have to be the co-regulator. And so what we suggest is to help your child come back to what we want is you to join with them in a safe space until they can bring their emotions and their bodies back to baseline. So it doesn't mean that we don't, with time-ins, we don't remove them and put them in a quiet place. You absolutely do. But I've done time-ins in the middle of Best Buy before, or Walmart. So you don't always need a quiet place, or your car, or stairs, or in the middle of the playground, but it's best done in a quiet place. And the idea is that we pause right before we're about to do it, and we make sure we're calm enough to engage in a time-in. So if we need to take a breath first, or a quick walk, a drink of water, and we can't teach our child to swim if we're drowning along with them. So we have to ensure that oxygen mask goes on us first. And remember that we're giving our kids a gift by joining with them and co-regulating their feelings. So first thing we're going to do is pause. So there's a lovely acronym called PEACE. So number 1 is pause. Number 2 is empathy. Number 3 is accessibility. Number 4 is connect the dots. And number 5 is to engage. So we're going to pause. And then 2, once we're ready, we can remove the child to a quiet place. We are using empathy to join with them. So we might say, "Oh, you're feeling so frustrated with mom," or "You're so angry with your brother because he stole your toy." or you're so sad your friend had to go home and you didn't want her to. So empathy, keeping it to as few words as possible. Too much language overwhelms children's brains. We need to send signals to the part of the brain that is overstimulated, which is the right hemisphere. And by speaking too many words, we engage the left, and we don't, that's not going to be helpful. We're speaking the wrong language. We want to ensure the third step is that we are accessible physically. So we don't want to leave them alone. Because there's times where we may have to, because if you think you might hit your child if you're in the room, please leave. If you know that you're going to scream at your child, being in the room probably isn't going to be helpful, but you need to come back if you need to take a breath. It's done best if you stay in the room. And if they're not used to you staying in the room, they may fight you on this at first. So just be prepared for that. But eventually their anger will start to gear down, and you will see this shift from this mad, angry kind of state into a sadness, more vulnerable crying state. And that's what we really want. And we want to be there to offer physical touch, a hug, a kiss, cuddling, swaddling, whatever they need to feel safe in that moment. We want to ensure we don't intimidate either. So we want to get down on their level on the floor. If it's appropriate, offer eye contact, and just keeping an open body. So we don't want to close off or tower to intimidate our kids. And then once they have started to rev down, they've had a good cry, you can see their nervous system is starting to, they're gearing really, it's called a parasympathetic nervous system. Everything is kind of gearing down, and their breathing is slowing, and they're maybe just doing light sobs. If and when they are in a calm state and you are in a calm state, you can maybe make some comments by connecting the dots and saying something like, honey, that hitting is wrong. I wonder what we could do next time when your brother makes you angry. What do you think? And young kids may not be able to do this, and that's okay. The fact is, you probably set the limit already by removing them, saying it's not okay to hit your brother. And then by putting them in the time in and co-regulating them until their brain has kind of gone out of that dysregulated state of fight, flight, freeze, collapse, then they feel felt by you, they feel calm, and they realize after enough repetitions that this isn't an appropriate behavior. But then you can also give them some coping skills if you want to connect the dots of what could we do instead, or when our feelings get really big, what could we try next time? And then the fifth step is to engage. And really, this is about re-engaging them back in their world. So, they might be feeling kind of self-conscious and they don't want to go play with their brother. So maybe you get them to do a task to help you with the dishes, or finding them another playmate, maybe encouraging them to go outside with a neighbor, get their body moving, challenge them to something fun like jumping on the trampoline or a foot race down the hallway, play a game with them, something that reconnects the two of you and also allows your child to re-enter their world in a positive way, and feeling like that there's been forgiveness and grace given to them, and we can continue on with life, because emotions come and emotions go. So that's what we advocate. Instead of timeouts, our time ins. And we hope you found this little snippet helpful, and the handout that accompanies it. If you are seeing this on YouTube, we do have a handout, and I will include the URL in the description of this video.